We have a special guest with us here this weekend. Those of you who've been around this church for a while, you will recognize her name. Her name is Annette Craig. And for those of you who haven't been around this church for a while, Annette is someone who had sort of an unspeakable tragedy happen in her life. But out of that, she founded an organization that has done a tremendous amount of good. And it's for that reason I want her to share a little bit here today, because she is a walking testimony to what it is that we are talking about. So friends, would you do me a favor? Would you give a very warm Friends Church welcome to Annette Craig as she takes the stage? Well, Annette, thank you so much for being with us here today. As I said, you just had a tragedy happen in your life, and there are some people here today that may know that story, but there's probably a fair number of people who don't. So can you share a little bit about what it is that happened?
So on May 25th, 2005, we lost our 14-and-a-half-year-old daughter, Amber, to suicide. It was unexpected. It came out of left field, and we were a family that was just left devastated.
And that is obviously, every parent's worst nightmare. And so the question I have for you is, in that time, how was it to find God? Was it hard to find God, like we talked about? He's not always hard to find. So how did you find God in those moments?
Well, I get asked that a lot. God was where he always was, seated on the throne, knowing that, like you said earlier, this was not his will. This was not his plan. And so I knew where he was. What I did have to do was I really had to wrestle him for the blessing in this. We were very fortunate. We had a church family that came and supported us immediately, and friends and family. And I've often described us as a broken vessel. We were just shattered from top to bottom, but we were being poured into exceedingly and abundantly more, that the blessings were overflowing in the midst of just the disaster that we found ourselves in. And so I knew where God was, but I did ask a lot of why.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, as we've talked about, God is someone who has this ability to bring incredible good out of even the most difficult of circumstances and situations. So I know your story, but these people don't. What incredible good has God brought out of all that you went through?
Well, 3 days after Amber took her life, 3 friends came forward to tell us that they knew that she was thinking about this. They didn't know what to do with the information, and nobody had ever talked to them about it. And so we instantly knew that no other family should be left picking up the pieces of a tragedy like this. No one else should be left to feel like Amber did, that suicide was her only option, and that no other friends should be left holding on to this information. And so I really didn't know. Fun fact, I hate to publicly speak. Never tell God what you're not going to do, because that's about what he's going to have you do all the time. And so we just wanted to make sure that this didn't happen to another family. And so what we did was we started with Hope, the Amber Craig Memorial Foundation. And originally we thought if we could just tell, she was a freshman at El Dorado High School at the time, if we could just talk to the kids at El Dorado. But what rapidly happened was we found out this wasn't a conversation that was being had. And so we started going into schools and communities and talking with kids about recognizing the warning signs of suicide and depression, and giving them an outlet to come forward. Friends who had been, promised to keep this secret, we've given them permission to come forward to a trusted adult. And for the last almost 19 years, we've been working in schools and throughout communities, helping connect kids, at-risk kids, to help, and having this conversation. And at the same time, as a family that found themselves just in the depths of grief, we ended up starting a bereavement support group. And so we spend about 50% of our time on the prevention side and 50% of the time on helping individuals who've lost a loved one to suicide.
So how have you seen the truth of what we've talked about here today made real in your life?
I think for starters, to say that something that was born out of a tragedy in our living room, and Matthew, I remember Matthew and I in my living room, broken, crying with my family, making a promise that we would work together to make sure that this didn't happen again. The fact that it's 19 years. If you had told me that 19 years later, this is where we'd stand, I would have said, absolutely not.
Yeah.
God has been faithful every step of the way in ways that we couldn't even imagine. And it's hard to imagine that it's been 19 years.
Yeah.
But in that time, we have helped hundreds of thousands of people and been able to walk alongside of them and really see how God has led us. And it would have been easy, I guess, to sit down and say, no, I don't think so. But I kind of wrestled him for the blessing in this, and just following him in the dark, not knowing where we were going, I can look back and see how he has just blessed our socks off.
Strikes me how much of it's like the story of Joseph. It resulted in the saving of many lives, and we will have no idea how many lives have been saved as a result of this. How can we, as a church, individually, how can we support all that you guys are doing?
So we're really excited because every year we host a walk, and this is our 17th walk. We've actually added a 5K run. And we're really excited because we're going to be hosting it here at Friends. So it's nice to come back and just be able to do it here. And so there's a couple opportunities. You can register to walk or run.
And when is that walk?
Saturday, March 2nd. You can volunteer to help. We need lots of volunteers to pull this off. Or you can donate. This weekend is a matching weekend. $20,000 up to $20,000 will be matched this weekend. So if you want to walk, you can join us, or run. If you want to volunteer, that would be great. Or if you'd like to donate, that would be
Yeah, and
fantastic.
just so you know, we're taking a special offering at the end of the service as you leave, and anything that you give to that offering will be given to the With Hope Foundation, and it will also be matched up to $20,000, right?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Hey, Annette, thank you so much for being with us
Thank
here
you.
today. Can we thank Annette for being with us?